everybody, how's it going? Happy day after Thanksgiving. If you celebrated Thanksgiving, if you didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, whatever you did or didn't do, I hope it was a good one. So, I wanted to pop on here and talk about a comment or a challenge. That's the word I'm looking for that I know a lot of you face and I work with clients on quite frequently, and that is other people's opinions. As women, we are so conditioned to worry about what everybody else is thinking about us. So, I want to give you two tips to help you ease that worry, so that you can decide whose opinions are important, whose opinions can go by the wayside, and what to do with those opinions, plus why some of those opinions are so painful. Okay, so imagine this scenario. You walk into a room full of people. Since it's the holiday season, perhaps let's make it a room full of family. And you walk into a room full of family, and your brain goes into overdrive of, oh my gosh, my mom is going to criticize my outfit. My sister's going to make a comment about my weight. Why haven't I lost weight since the last time I saw her? My brother in law is going to make a snarky joke, and then I'm going to have to say something about it. And then suddenly I become the person who is the wet blanket, and nobody likes that. And why can't I just get along with people? I don't know what the narrative in your head is like, but criticizing ourselves through the opinions of other people is super common. Part of that is because if you were raised as a woman, were raised as a girl, not that long ago, our very survival depended on being likable and being pleasant in the eyes of men. And so it wasn't until, you probably have heard, it wasn't until the 1970s that a woman could actually create a bank account, open a bank account, or get a credit card without a male cosigner. So our lives financially and sometimes even physically were dependent on being pleasing to men, whether it was being pleasing to our fathers who would keep us in their homes and feed us and clothe us, or being pleasing to our husbands for the same reason. We were economically dependent upon men. And so that's in our DNA. People pleasing is in our DNA. Worrying about what everybody else thinks about us is in our DNA. And then also, there are messages that we get throughout our lives that tell us we need to be worried about what everybody else thinks. So if you have been plagued by stressing out about other people's opinions of you, it's not just you. I want you to know that, because we don't often talk about it enough. We don't talk about the critical inner monologue that's happening in our heads at all times because we're embarrassed. We feel shame about it. But what I want you to know is it's 100% normal. It's part of being a woman is having this soundtrack playing in your head about all of your deficiencies all the time. So my work in the world is to make that a little bit lighter, to quiet that soundtrack a little bit. Okay, so let's imagine you're in this room full of people, friends and family. You're worried about what they're thinking about you. Or perhaps it's easier for you to picture walking into a meeting at work, and their coworkers, their colleagues, there's your boss, whomever is in this meeting. Same thing. You start to lead the meeting and you stumble over your words and you think, oh my gosh, everybody knows I don't know what I'm doing. Everybody can see that I'm nervous. My boss is going to fire me because she'll finally figure out I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm sure you're very familiar with that inner monologue. So what do you do about it? What do you do about worrying about what everybody else is thinking about you? First and foremost, well, maybe it's not even first and foremost, but first, decide whose opinions really matter. Decide who is on your board of directors, I call it, but who's actually the most important person in the room whose opinion matters to you. So you might also decide on kind of a bigger picture in your life whose opinions are the most important. For me, the most important opinions, the people with the most important opinions in my life are my husband and my daughter. So I'm curious Actually, I'm not even going to go down that road because I was going to say I'm curious about what they think about me, but I'm really not. Like, I don't care. I want to be a good person for them, but that's a different episode. Um, but decide whose opinions are important. So if your boss says something critical to you about the meeting that you just led, perhaps you want to take that feedback and work on it. But if your coworker who really wants your job and wants to see you fail says something critical about it, perhaps that person's opinion really doesn't matter. Even more important than having your board of directors deciding whose opinions are most important, um, here's what I want you to know about other people's opinions. So, most of the opinions that we worry about don't actually come from anything anyone has actually said to us, because people rarely come up to us and are like, wow, that was a really sucky meeting you just led. Can't believe you stumbled over your words. Can't believe you didn't have the answer to that question. What are you thinking? Right? It's all in our heads. And so we're not so stressed about what people will actually say to us. We're stressed about what we'll imagine, what we're imagining they're thinking, right? So you walk into the meeting, you're feeling stressed, not because anybody is going to actually criticize you, but because you're worried about what they're thinking. And I'm laughing not because it's funny, it's actually like it sucks when you're in this space, but we all do it. So everybody at that table in that meeting is worried about what you're thinking about them. They're worried about what everybody else is thinking about them. You just feel it magnified because it's you and you're in your brain, you're not in their brains. So we feel so much stress about what other people are thinking about us that we're actually projecting onto them. You have no idea what other people are thinking. Like I said, they're probably worrying about themselves. They might be watching cartoons in their head. They might be thinking about what they're going to make for dinner that night. But if you can't answer a question that somebody asks, you're suddenly stressed that everybody in the room is like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know what she's doing. Why does she even have this job? She should know that answer. And even if they are thinking it, who cares? Are they on your board of directors? Does it matter? So you may have noticed that some of the opinions that we project onto other people, that we imagine they're thinking, are more painful than others. In fact, we tend to only project the painful opinions onto others, right? Like if I walk into a meeting and I imagine somebody's thinking that green hair doesn't look very good on me, first of all, I wouldn't imagine that because I'm not going to imagine things that aren't true. But anyway, I want you to see kind of how this works. So if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really stressed, everybody hates my green hair, I really stand out, I don't have green hair. So this is not an opinion that I worry about with myself. However, when I used to lead meetings, when I was in the corporate world, right after college, my voice would shake. And then I would worry that everybody knew I was nervous. And then I would worry that they'd be thinking, I don't know what I'm doing and I should be more confident. I went to great colleges. Why am I not more confident? And I would go down this whole self-critical monologue, except I'd be putting it in other people's brains, right? Give me a thumbs up if that's, or click like if that's ever happened to you. So it's always something that you already believe about yourself. So we have these painful opinions about ourselves, and then we assign them to other people, and then we get stressed out because we imagine other people are thinking those things that we believe are true about ourselves. So I'm going to say that again because it's super important. So we have these opinions about ourselves. They're painful. And we believe everybody else is thinking these things about us. And then we feel stressed out. And we feel shame. But we're basically giving other people the opinions we already have about ourselves. Here's what I want you to know is none of these opinions about yourself are true. They feel like the truth because you've thought them probably for decades. but they're not true. None of our opinions about ourselves are true. There's nowhere that is written in the universe that you're bad at your job, or you don't know what you're doing, or anything else that you should know more. This is not a hard and fast truth. It feels like the truth because you've thought it a lot. It's like when you guys tell me stories about stressful things that happen, it's like you're reporting the facts to me. But it's not facts. It's all thoughts. And all a thought is a sentence in your brain. If you think a thought long enough, it becomes a belief, and beliefs really feel like the truth because you've thought them so many times. But what I want you to know is they're not the truth. So it's this amazing game that we play, right? Where we have these thoughts about ourselves that are negative. We project them onto other people and assign them the task of thinking these thoughts. We imagine that they're thinking these thoughts about ourselves, and we feel stress. And then we spend all this time and energy trying to control what other people are thinking. But it's our thought in the first place, right? I remember when I was an assistant principal spending way too much time on an email to our superintendent because I was like, I want him to think I'm a hard worker. I remember actually having that thought of like, I want him to think I'm a hard worker. I can't control what he thinks. He can think I'm a hard worker or not, right? Other people's opinions are, you probably have heard the quote, other people's opinions are none of your business. And they're really not. First of all, most of the people in your life, their opinions don't matter to you at the end of the day, or they shouldn't matter to you. But because we're raised to be people pleasers, then we want everyone to be happy and everyone to think we're doing a good job. But you can't do that because our thoughts aren't true. Their thoughts aren't true. It's all made up. So what do you do about this is what you're thinking. You're like, okay, all my thoughts are made up, but they're still there. I want you to be on to your brain. So the next time you walk into a situation and you're stressing about what everybody else thinks, notice it, because awareness is always the first step. Once you notice it, you can start to question it. You can start to think, is this thought actually true? And it'll feel true. But spoiler alert, none of your thoughts are true. But another question you can ask if the is this true is really sticky, you can ask, is it helpful? Is this thought helping me to become the person I want to become? I'm guessing if it's a self-critical thought that you're stressed out that another person is thinking, it's not helping you become the woman you want to become. So this is one of the foundational concepts of confidence is you get to decide what you think about yourself. And therefore, you get to decide what other people think about you because you're just projecting your thoughts onto them anyway. I know, it's crazy. Okay, so here's what I would love. If you found this helpful, give me a thumbs up and write me a comment of what of this was particularly helpful or what would you still like to learn? What questions do you have? Let me know. But just know the next time you find yourself stressing out about other people's opinions about you, ask yourself, is it true? The answer is no. And ask yourself, even if it feels true, is it helpful? Does this get me where I want to go? All right, friends, take care. I'll see you later.